Hi,
Hello?
Kathleen.
Hi, Tom. It's so nice to get to speak to you. I've become a big fan of your program.
Well, thank you. What's on your mind today?
I saw something on Yahoo today that made me really nervous, and it was Roger Stone saying if there was any attempt to impeach Trump, there would be a civil war, and both sides were armed, and that if there was any senator, I believe he said senator, I could be wrong, but any senator put forth a bill to impeach Trump, that they would be killed.
Wow.
And I find this really frightening.
Well,
And
they would be
have
killed is
you
the kind of
heard this
language that should
or?
get him investigated by the Secret Service. But yeah, I saw that story, and I think Roger Stone. I mean, he's got Richard Nixon tattooed on his back. I'm not kidding. He was Richard Nixon's #1 fanboy, and that didn't work out all that well for Richard Nixon. I don't think it's going to work out all that well for Trump. Anyhow,
Right.
back to you,
No,
Kathleen.
because I found that really scary that
Yeah,
someone would be saying that
yeah.
and putting that kind of thinking out there.
Yeah, the possibility of an American Civil War at this point is pretty marginal. The possibility of enormous damage being done to the United States by, some kind of right-wing insurrection. Well, I'm thinking back to Tim McVeigh. Tim McVeigh actually believed that he was playing out the Turner Diaries scenario. In the Turner Diaries, the the good guy blows up a federal building in Oklahoma, and the federal government responds. In this case, it would have been the Clinton administration responds by cracking down, by taking away people's guns, and then that causes all the good white people to rise up and kill off all the people of color and all the Jews in the country. And that's what Tim McVeigh thought was going to happen. I think maybe Roger Stone is thinking like that too, but that's not what happened. When Tim McVeigh set off that bomb, it brought America together. It didn't, further divide us. So I don't know, Kathleen. I think that Roger Stone is wrong, and I would not be intimidated by what he has to say, and not be frightened by what he has to say. He's just wrong.
Well, that's a relief to hear you say that.
Yeah. Well, I think the people of the United States are waking up. The ones who seem firmly cemented in their delusional status are the ones who are only getting their information from Fox News, as far as I can tell. Kathleen, thanks for the call. Hey, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
Yes, I'm sorry. Let me take you off. I just wanted to make a comment with regard to your comment on free apps and people spending all their time on Facebook and every spare moment, and the fact that they're being tracked. And I read a comment from someone in Silicon Valley, some app developer, that said, for users, if you're not paying, you're not the customer.
Exactly.
You're the product.
You're the product. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got I see this behavior myself. I've got a little blackjack app on my phone, and I've been playing blackjack against the computer just when I get bored. And the method I've been using is every time you lose, you double your bet. And if you can not lose more than 5 or 6 times in a row, I forget which it is, you always get made whole, and every time you bet the absolute minimum of $5. So I'm up to like $30,000 now in my blackjack on my phone. I mean, it's not real money, but it's like every time I win, I get that, oh yeah, there's that dopamine. And every time I get wiped out, it's like, oh God, I have to close the app and can't come back to it for an hour or so, because when you're doubling down and you lose, it like wipes you out to the tune of $1,000 or something. And I wonder what the developers of that app are doing with all this. Oh, Hartman logged in at 3 o'clock in the morning and played the game for 15 minutes. It's like,
Exactly. They're selling it to somebody.
yeah, exactly. If you're not the customer, you are the product. Amen, Rick. Thanks a lot for the call. Magic in Winter Garden, Florida. Hey, Magic, what's on your mind today?
Hi. How you doing, Tom?
Good. What's up?
I'm a participating member of Antifa, and I actually watch what Nazis and neo-Nazis say on their websites, including like 4chan and Stormfront and the rest of them. And I kind of want to put out, a general warning for people. I was watching what they were saying about the event that Dick Spencer was going to do at the University of Florida. They were planning on bringing firearms to the event, killing as many Antifa as they could find, and then using Florida's stand your ground laws to get out of, to get away with murder.
Right.
So I'm kind of putting out a general warning. If you're going to any protest, if you're even near Antifa, or if you are Antifa, invest in some body armor. It's a sad day where I have to say that, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is a sad thing, and body. It occurred to me when I was watching some of the conflicts in Charlottesville that body armor might be a good thing. It's very unfortunate. Magic, thanks for calling and sharing that with us. Mark, what's on your mind?
Hey, Tom. Hey, I've been listening to you since Air America days, and
Thank you.
You and I are about the same age. Mm-hmm. One of the first things I ever remember reading in the newspaper and assimilating was the arrest of Adolf Eichmann.
Oh, yeah, back in the 60s.
Yeah, I had to ask my dad to explain the article to me. What were Nazis? What were crematoriums? Why were the Israelis abducting him for trial?
Yep.
And I still can't understand why anyone would be proud of walking around with any kind of insignia, Nazi insignia or Nazi salute or any of that crap.
Yeah.
It's just beyond my comprehension.
Well, I think that it's a sign of how some of these people, and I would say probably the majority of the people who are out there chanting, you will not replace us, Jews will not replace us, etc., how pathetic they are, how small their lives are, how neurotic and insecure they must be. Because you're right, Nazism is an offensive ideology, and one that has been responsible for the death of millions of people, tens of millions of people, and still is, on an ongoing basis. And it's just really the Christian version of ISIL in some ways. This extreme, radical, hardcore right-wing worldview, and anybody who is proclaiming themselves a Nazi. I mean, there's I suppose some situations, like if somebody's in prison and they're trying to, they've got to bond to some gang for self-defense or something. Maybe you could make a case, but even then, I mean, this is it's just weird stuff, and. I'm with you, Mark. That is an excellent point. Thank you for calling and making it. Brian, we've got a minute to the end of the hour. What's up?
Oh, I just wanted to comment. It's a beautiful summer day, and I love history, and it was a mere 100 years ago this summer that the American Army was landing in France and preparing to engage in World War I, enter the slaughter that was one of mankind's biggest catastrophes, and then helped precipitate the second, or the biggest catastrophe, which was World War II. And I think a lot of people lose perspective on how quickly our world is changing compared to, you look at the great span of history of mankind. The last 100 years have just been crazy. I mean, my parents were born in a home without electricity. Yep. I'm an electrician by trade now. I've worked on data centers where where we handle information at the speed of light. In World War I, we had wooden fabric airplanes with 100 horsepower engines. Now we have space-based lasers and supersonic jet aircraft. I mean, and another thing is the population of the United States has gone from 100 million to over 300 million people in a mere 100 years.
Yeah.
And
no, it's true. Brian, we're out of time, but you're right. Things are happening fast. We'll be back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.